This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your live market chat about FOMC, what to expect this week for Sunday, September 17th, 2023. Want to try to do these Sunday afternoon, Sunday night chats just to kind of talk about the expectations so people can, again, if they're following the weekly recaps, they can kind of see how, or the daily recaps, how kind of things ebb and flow and what the expectations are and how, guess what? Sometimes your expectations don't play out. Again, in a probability-based game, you'd love to be right all the time, but the reality is we're not. So I want to talk about the FOMC, then I want to talk about some levels, and then I want to talk about just kind of how to play and what to expect. Now, I know the futures aren't open at this point, but I don't really care. I mean, I know you can look at deeper levels of future stuff, but let's just play it by ear because those things aren't the futures and they are not essentially the ones that I care about that are going to be traded. So just want to mic check this 1 2 1 2 and then we'll get into it. You know, people might be rolling in late. I'm assuming everything's good because if not, someone will be like, I can't hear you. Cool. Thanks, TY. So let me do the quick rant. If you're new to the channel, want to join the Discord room, links in the description below. Appreciate you guys liking, subscribing, hitting the notification bell on YouTube. Again, check out the educational series. There's a bunch of videos on FOMC. Maybe there's only one or two, but worth watching. And on that note, you know, check us out on Twitter. Posted all of the charts. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, do I have to join the Discord room to get involved? No, I try to post the charts that I think people should be watching. Tons of them. Tons and tons and tons. Spent like an hour this morning posting all these different charts. So new and want to join. Also, too, check out the website, thetradingagent.com. That's where the daily market reviews, back to basics education, real estate stuff. End it with, you know, if you want to get away from, say, Schwab or some of these other brokerages, again, use this referral code. You'll get a little bonus. I've been trying to get away from Schwab as well. I mean, again, I don't know, but I've seen a banking crisis, and I do not want my funds to get locked up, and I don't want to try to transfer them when the shit is hitting the fan, excuse my language. You get my point, because your funds will be frozen, and if it's over 250, you some of that could get wiped. It's a whole mess. Check out the Marcus account, 5.3% again. Love it. I use it. You should use it. I think it's worth using. All right, so I was going to open up some questions right off the start. So if anyone has a good question, what if the Fed does a surprise hike? All right, the Feds do not surprise hikes. That's a great question. Email to start. This comes from the Discord room. The Fed fund futures expectations. I've said this before, and I don't know if you've heard this, but anything over 66.3%, the Feds have never done the opposite. So if you go to this page, here, let me just drop it in the chat, and I'll drop it on the Discord room. If you've gone to this page, it'll show you the expectations, what to expect coming up. Never in my life have I ever seen them try to surprise the market. That has not been their MO, right? They try to telegraph everything because them and their buddies can then absolutely take advantage of such. So it's not going to happen unless the odds change. Again, that statement is of the day. Now, it could change if all of a sudden the data got worse or something, but in general, there are no surprise rate hikes. Anyone who's selling the idea that there will be a rate hike or a cut is full of absolute shit and doesn't know what they're talking about. Because again, the Feds are not in the game of surprising the markets. Imagine if they did this, because this is the last person that did this was Greenspan, and people freaked the hell out. They absolutely lost on. Congress went nuts because it created a ton of volatility in the market. And this isn't like the Volcker days where no one's paying attention in the 80s. You know, people have to read a newspaper and get it and see what happened in the interest rates. Oh, they raised them. Oh, I didn't know that till 3 days later. No, we're living in instantaneous news flow kind of lifestyle. So expecting that, no, not going to happen. It's absolutely pause. And again, I don't even think there's anything really going on until next year in my mind. So that's a good question to start. And that's where I think experience, if you check out this page, it'll help keep you abreast of such. Because I mean, November, 72%, December, 60%, right? 60%, January, March, 53%. Now next year you're getting more into the evens. And I mean, literally, Fed pause forever. Yeah. At this point, And then not until June of 2023, and again, remember, this changes, it updates constantly, we're going to get a rate cut. So great question. Let's get into what to expect for the Feds. All right, so typically the Monday and Tuesday before the FOMC is usually a slow day. However, if we do have some velocity down, do not be surprised if there is some continuation on Monday. Maybe some chop Tuesday, right? Like, have in your mind, take note of this. Down and then chop. And then maybe chop into Wednesday. But here's the thing, with the VIX at where it's at, I wouldn't be surprised if people start doing what? Hedging, right? Market down. Like, and again, if it pops, maybe China does another stimulus. I don't know. Maybe there's like jawboning. Just have in your mind. Do not be surprised if they're at some point, because again, what are the odds that you're going to be down every minute of every day all week? That would be an impressive week. Trust me. But the odds say that, depending on where the futures open up at and where things go. Remember, you got the strikes, you got some stuff going on in the world. Again, we've talked about, like, nothing's fresh. With the VIX in the 12, 13 range, why would you not take advantage of such? So, at this point, that's the bottom line. The first thing to keep in mind, like, it's going to be probably continuation at some point and then choppy, because everyone's going to wait for the Feds to talk, because it's not about whether they pause or not. It's going to be what they say. But then even then, a phenomenon we started noticing in the last couple of years is that the Thursday after the FOMC is actually the day that matters. Wednesday has become trap day. So write that down, trap day. Taking notes. Again, I'm taking notes for my own outlines just for later. That's what you should expect. And remember, as soon as they release and then at 2:30 they'll talk, you're going to see some volatility. So if you have any questions about this particular issue, drop a comment. If not, I'll just keep rolling, because that's what I would just keep that in mind. Like, we're going to probably see some more down. Then we'll see some chop. Maybe they rally it. Maybe just because of the pause, everyone goes, they're not raising rates. And again, if you could listen to the news and Emu, your question kind of is something that I've noticed the last couple of days from more and more people. Everyone's going, what if they surprise by pausing and not raising rates? I'm like, what? Huh? What? No. Look at the Fed fund futures. They're not raising. So this narrative of a pause, right? That might give people reason to cover, Put that down in your notes. Like, go back and read this next week. That's what I always do. I always write this in my weekly journal. Narrative of a pause, give reason to cover. That's just how it goes. So now that we know that's what we should really expect, probably then, and again, end of the week, at some point, middle of the week, you'll get some sort of rally, potentially. And then Thursday, Friday down. Or if the market gets bludgeoned Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then I would, with chop, then maybe you get a little relief rally. But at this point, if you go look at the actual Stock Traders Almanac, Thursday and Friday are bear days. Bear days. All right. So now that we got that, we got the FOMC stuff out of out of the way. Let's talk about what to expect. Let's start off with oil. Now, because oil, could it hit our target? Potentially. Again, I don't really believe, not believe, but I struggle sometimes with, again, we always make this joke. Don't bring a ruler to the trading. How high is oil going to go? I don't know. Maybe it rallies on Wednesday, right? ASM, we'll get to bonds here in a little bit. That's coming up shortly. I would personally, again, do we get up there? Great. I don't know. But the easy short is oil service, because I think we're going to be topping out soon. Because again, if the Fed's pausing demand destruction, they're seeing future weakness. The market needs headlines to sell into, right? They need people to buy at the highs on headlines and sell at the lows on headlines. Well, oil's been, if you do an ABC Gartley pattern, 67 up to 84, 17 points, 17 from that. Okay, that takes you to like mid 90s. So did it? And again, these Gartley patterns not to be perfect, but That makes sense. Nat gas going nowhere. Bitcoin chopping around. All right. I was just checking out again. Always zoom out. Oh, did I just close that? Where did it go? Let me just see if I just made that mistake. Oh, I just closed that. My bad. Trying to remember how with Q charts or how you reopen them. But anyway, the HYG, well, that's an absolute bummer. There's a monster monthly channel. You can kind of see it on the weekly. Man, that was such a boner. Oops. I should just restart my whole computer, the charts that I saved. Yeah, they never done a surprise hike, agree. Notice how we held channel. Corporate bonds, bouncing, now going sideways. Do you see what's going on here? Let me close Q charts real quick and reclose and reopen it. So I want to show you on that monthly. I want to have that monthly open. I apologize that I messed that up. Oh, hey puppy, my good friend. And so if you're looking at the bonds have gone, corporate have been chopping. What do we know about what's potentially coming, right? More what? Bankruptcies, more businesses. What's the headline? The highest rate of corporate bankruptcy since 2009. Have you guys seen that headline? It's not good. Sorry again, apologize, reloading the charts. It'll take a second. So, interesting. That's something that's, I think you got to pay attention to, right? You got to pay attention to that. Because so HYG on the daily, if we'll go back to it, it's going sideways. Yeah, you saw that on Bloomberg? Yep. So there's some issues here. Let's not pretend that all is well. All is not well. Let's apologize while we kill a minute. This e-signal program is a ton of, it's a big program. Every time I open and close it, it takes a minute. Oh, there we go. Bang, bang. Thank you. All right, let's open up the monthly. Let's go back to the HYG. Sorry. Yeah, you can see it here. We're just base chopping, right? Now look at the daily, right? When you zoom out, you're like, oof, big chop zone. Just, again, things that I'm going to keep an eye on. Someone asked about TLT. Yes, great question. We're back at the range lows. Now, we expected a bounce. I'm honestly surprised bonds haven't been bought, but I guess if oil's rising, makes sense. We filled the gap. I mean, I'd be watching this 92 level. Now, again, if this is a op-ed, now that the feds are getting involved, and now we have like a big week, do not be surprised. Because, again, someone's has to absorb all this down here. If you are trading bonds, do not be surprised if at some point we potentially take out the lows. I'm going to move my alarm right down. Could it happen temporarily? Yep. It absolutely can. So 1 gap, 2 gap. Maybe a 3 gap trap is coming. I know there's a little gap there, but I'm talking about like a straight line exhausto gap. That's what I'd be keeping an eye on. Dollar, 9 straight weeks. Look at this sucker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. On fire. Gosh, I had so many people trying to tell me, oh, you got the dollars, the end of the dollar's coming. I'm like, the end of the dollar's coming. Is it now? Now, again, I don't care what people say on that regard, but if the dollar's ending, there's probably going to be some other currencies hitting the shitter. Excuse my language. Just let's call it what it is, right? Let me move these around so I can see them all. Cool. So just keep that in mind. The VIX at lows. I mean, I would not be surprised if at some point, again, people pile into puts and then the market makers try to do what? With some sort of FOMC. The narrative of pause. Look, and the market rallies, right? Like, look for a rally at some point. And if it doesn't, that will be the outlier. Does that make sense? Right? Because now that puts are so cheap, it'd probably be really easy to get people to come piling on in. We talked about the VIVX closing the gap. So far, so good. SPY, right? Back at range lows. Could we test the hundo day? The hundo day, is that a good one? Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me. Like, if you want to draw a baby box, Little baby box. Little baby box. Makes sense, right? I mean, I would probably move it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Baby box, right? SPY, again, 435, 100-day. Keep in mind, again, take notes. If you don't have a journal and don't go back and review stuff at the end of the week, what are you doing? QQQ, here we go. 100-day, all right? QQQ, and I'm writing this all down too. I'm just basically doing what I would do on my own. 358, 100-day. Could we fill and touch these gaps? Absolutely. Does this make sense? Everyone doing this? I hope so. IWM. I mean, I don't even know where this thing bounces. I mean, it's so beaten. Maybe the gap fill. I mean, gap fill? Question mark? Like, that's why I'm writing it. 175. Y'all see it? Again, any questions, thoughts, beliefs? Forever hold your peace. Here's your gap. I always put gaps in pink. Because gaps are pink, aren't they? Oh, gosh. Someone's going to get mad. You can't say that. Sorry. What? You didn't stretch. Let me pull it. Cool. What? Was that funny? I was just being honest. I don't know. I've always had gaps as pink on my charts. If you ever see a pink line, it's an old gap. Dia, stuck. Nothing. Chopping. 100. I mean, I feel like this is coming down to the 200. But I'm not as much concerned. Gold. Now, this is one of the ones that I think could consolidating, right? Silver holding support, right? Okay. The miners actually looked interesting. I looked at them this weekend. I was like, a higher low and a little gap. Is this a pro gap? Or is it just going to take us up to the 30 level and then be kaput? I mean, again, I'm not trading this stuff. I'd rather jerk off with sandpaper than play the gold miners, gold, silver sector. Yeah, I mean, we could get to some trend. I mean, maybe we could trap out. A lot of people are like, that's gross. Well, hopefully you get the analogy. I just don't want to do it. XOP, we talked about shorting up here, right? Like near term, I mean, right? XOP down to, I don't know, 143. I mean, where now people are like, oh, what if you got drip? All right, well, if you want to sell some covered calls, let's try to guesstimate where that would be. I don't know, maybe in the 10, 11 range, upper 10. Remember, there's a decay mid-calf. No, a decay. That's always possible. Oil, not really. And again, we already know about oil. Any other, I mean, tan. Solar looks really, really bad. And when I say like bad, like so bad you could you can smell it. It smells like Bigfoot's dick. You guys recognize, maybe you can smell that or recognize that line. That's not good. Like that. I mean, look at this thing. It's gotten beaten and that's all you got. Then it comes right back. Now, is this a novice gap and then rally? That's a pretty, I don't know. I can't really wrap my head around that one. Like, I don't know what's taking solar higher. Oil's going higher. Okay. It's like, maybe. But our government subsidies going higher? For solar. Holler. Now, this is going to get probably a little wide and loose, but man, this thing is chopping, ready to just get tanked. Maybe it starts like this, like it starts with just a big gap and go. Now watch for, because maybe that's what it needs. Like it gets around 179, then boom, it gaps like 10 points, and it's like, look out below, with an echo. Adobes. I mean, some of these names look really interesting, right? 50-day. Right? The fruit. Apple. Holding on for dear life. I'm pretty sure that gap filled. Yeah, it did. But it was an old gap of support. I mean, this one. I mean, everyone's like, oh, does the gap have to fill? I don't know. No, not really. So I just clean up my charts. They look a little dirty. Oh, so dirty. Sandpaper might hurt, Dan. Yes, I've been told it does. I personally have not done that, but that's the analogy that is supposedly. And I'm talking about like high grit, not low grit sandpaper. Not like for wet sanding. Oh man. You know what wet sanding is? Some people don't. They're like, what does that mean? You're like, never wet sanded? All right. Keep an eye on this, right? I mean, maybe you could kind of draw like a little baby trend line. I don't know. Getting real desperate here. It just doesn't look that good. I'm going to clear out some of these. I guess I don't care. You can make people go, your charts are ugly. I'm like, thank you. Compliment means I'm drawing, I'm doing something, I'm thinking. Amazon, the Amazonians. If you short it up here, I like it. This looks like a professional gap. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if you see some names drop and some names chop and then some names hold up, right? Some of these big tech names, I don't know. I think they're, again, the percentage of S&P 500, the top 10 names is like 35% or something I read, and like that's greater than the dot-com bubble. What could go wrong shorting those top 10 holdings? Nothing. In time. Short term, you never know. Long term, makes sense in dollars to me. CRM, short daddy. Guggenheim, this one, some people took the short on this. I mean, I get it. Double doji at the highs, riding the lightning channel high. I mean, look at the monthly. If you just like pulled it up, you go, oh, well, look a lot. But it might, maybe it doesn't dump. I mean, you're at some, again, this is why you gotta like love the monthly. I mean, there's clearly some candle close traction in this area. Let's see what happens here. Again, I mean, is it the best short? Maybe it might turn into the best. Sometimes that's the thing. It's like people don't understand. They don't all go at once. Like Meta, like everyone's like, oh, don't short it. And it's like, boom, down 10 points. Like maybe some of these names get some headline risk. It's one of these leads. Microsoft, left-right combo, island gap. You like the be down by the beach, boy. Look at that. Well, that's right. I mean, it breaks the 20-day, 50-day. I mean, you could see some traps before the FOMC. NDAQ, see ya later. Goodbye. I mean, I think this thing is going much lower. I mean, you go look at the monthly again. This is why you got to look at the monthlies, y'all. 50-month has been massively supporting for months. Not massively, but as you can see. Uh-oh, spaghetti-o. And again, I try to warn people, like, people are not going to be trading tech companies like this with high volume on the NASDAQ. They're going to have to start adding commodity companies. Minimum, P minimum. Sorry, you got to make yourself laugh when you're doing this stuff because you're basically talking to yourself. Oh, Netflix, if you shorted this one, the 450s, high five. Don't even need to talk about Tesla. This is where it gets interesting. I know some people want to short it. And it's like, okay, I get it. Watch this area. Now, could it fill this gap? I mean, I don't know. It shouldn't. Technically, it shouldn't. Always possible. SMH. Like, okay. 100-day. I still feel like this is where it gets, man, so many lines. Let me clean this up. Broke the trend. It's an old trend. No, that's an old trend again because when it split, I got some lines on here I need to clean off. Man, look at all those pink lines, old gaps. I don't know why you wouldn't, man, at worst test, like, maybe you fill some of these gaps. I don't know. 140. I don't know. You do the math on it. It's not clear. It's not concise, but things look weak, right? You got your stupid Intel, hits channel high. Failure. NVIDIA, just a matter of when before this thing gets absolutely destroyed. I mean, if this accounting stuff is real and that's why CEOs dumping shares, I mean, you're going to have a criminal investigation. Bullish? Hell no, that is not bullish. I mean, imagine if they start investigating these fuckers. Oops, excuse my language. I mean, this thing could literally go from 0 to 60 in no time. And I'm talking about like, how about 60 to 0? No, I mean, it could get just absolutely pummeled. I mean, that gap, that should be in your eyesight. 200-day, the gap. I mean, that would be, I would like that. I would love to see this. And it could happen fast. Just keep that in mind. Risk happens fast. People are like, oh, what does that mean? It's like, no, really, it literally could, anything. I mean, if you trade long enough, you've seen it. It's like funny today. Like I had someone who hit me up about Peloton. And I was like, you really think that there's some value into a bike that has like a stupid iPad on it? And how like Peloton's at like $3 or $4. I'm like, dude, I hope you sold it in the hundreds. No, I thought it was going to do. Oh, okay, never mind. Let's not even talk about it because it's going to be a hard moment for you. AMD, looking like it's going to break. MU, you short at 72. You looking good, son. Could it chop? Yeah. I mean, you could get like this, like then boom. Right? First dip gets bought kind of thing. A lot of these names that are coming off the highs, that might be what they get. Does this make sense? Like right in there. First dip bought on leaders. And then you can go back and look at the ones that we were just going through. Taiwan Semi not leading. Not leading. All right, Caterpillar. This is another one that I think is about it's prime time. It's about to be Colorado. See you. Happy Sunday. What's up, Scott? How you doing, buddy? 20-day. M marks a spot. VALE. I mean, all these names. I mean, financials. Interesting. Again, you got to give credit. Yeah, that game was fire last night. Again, I don't have beef in the game. I'm an NC State grad. I do respect Dion in the sense of like, I like his flash. I liked him at FSU. I like his charisma. Yep, that was a good game. I don't trust. Again, let's zoom out. Let me get some monthlies going here, and you can see. Like we're so close, so close. 100-month has been an issue. And it's just like consolidating. It's like, man, this thing just looks bad. Another lower high. Just banking crisis 2.0 coming, right? Pick your favorite financial. JP Morgan, right? 50-day maybe? Morgan Stanley. We talked about this like oversold rally. Like, this thing has been acting like turd. All right, inside. I mean, could it fill the gap? I mean, dude, I love when I get into the dude rants. If it hits the 90s, dude. Goldman. I mean, I don't know how much higher. KRE looks like death. Just biding time before it's kind of like, well, I get in trouble. It's like Joe Biden. It's just stuck and it's on the fritz. Or maybe like Mitch McConnell too. Like just, it's like, when's it going to move or meet its maker? Someone's going to report me for that. Absolutely. XBI, we talked about leading down. I mean, we'll go through the last one. Then I'm just going to open it up. Uh-oh. Goodbye. All right, that one's no good. XLI, XLB. Yeah, holding a 100-day. I mean, some of these names look so bad. XLB. Come on, IYT. Right? Transport's holding the 100-day. I mean, they're just way down here. Housing. Uh-oh. I mean, right? Old trend lines here, maybe. We'll see. Where do these go back from? Okay, yeah, these go back way in time. Whatever. We'll leave them there. All right, I'm gonna open it up for any thoughts, concerns, questions. You want to talk about football? You want to talk? I mean, you can. If you want to talk about any of the charts, any of the trades. I mean, Mr. Coop dropped the mRNA one. I mean, I like this. I like this. I mean, you got the bottom pro gap. I mean, India's now talking about instituting COVID restrictions. California's shutting down sports. I mean, it's stupid. We're doing the same thing, right? But I don't think it's going to get full crap. And people are like, well, people aren't going to take the vaccines. They aren't going to. I'm like, that's not the point. I don't think people realize, like, it doesn't matter that the public's not going to, like, the governments are going to be the ones who buy these stupid vaccines. I'm sorry, it's not stupid. They're going to want the ones who buy the vaccines. Doesn't mean that people have to get vaccinated, but then they're going to offer them for free. So keep that in mind. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? 30-minute little chat here. Not seeing a lot of people, which, again, I understand. I'm going to try to make this a thing. Next Sunday will not be. I'm going on my fall fishing trip. I'm going to probably be gone for 10 days. I will try to keep people updated. I will have computer access, but I won't be like all in. Does Chewy have hope? No, Chewy has no hope. That's like, again, it's like people who bought Peloton and buy these stupid stocks that have no narrative, have like narratives of nothingness. Like, what keeps people from starting an online pet store? Nothing. Nothing. I mean, this is what it tells you. It's over. There's no moat. Exactly. So again, I mean, it becomes like one of these retail Bed Bath & Beyond guesstimations. Amazon buyout. Why would Amazon even need to buy them out? They could literally just probably pay a programmer to create a website, and they have all the infrastructure to create a system. Like, who wouldn't take, one of these like pet supply companies not just take a phone call from Amazon? Hey, we want to buy your product and list it on our website. We need direct shipping logistics with you. Yes. How many units do you need? We're going to need a lot. I mean, the Amazon rumor is bullshit. The Amazon rumor is bullshit. I mean, Amazon is not buying them. Again, that's when you're like, like they're trying to get people to jump in. When the market newsmakers start pumping like headlines that, like, if you had any sort of understanding of the market and brain, now some people might be offended by it, but it's like, if you've worked in finance, you understand business. Like, it's just a website. Just a website. What does Amazon have to do? Hey guys, we're gonna start selling, and we're gonna create our own little, like our little Whole Foods was a brand. Again, they wanted the premium brand. Chewy doesn't. I mean, there's no who pays premium online for pet medicine? Nobody. Everyone's looking for them discounts. All I have to do is like throw up a website and say, look, we're selling endless amounts of. Oh God. I mean, that's like the game over channel break. Look at it, trapped, and then boom. If you own Chewy, you got to throw it away. You just got to, save your capital. Save your emotional capital. Like, imagine, like, how many Hail Marys and prayers are you saying if you own Chewy that this doesn't go to zero? And again, it's like Peloton. If you didn't sell the highs, you've just been a sucker ever since. And if you're reading the news for some sort of narrative, the narrative is it's over. It's over. Move on. Now again, maybe it gets a squeeze at some point and becomes some retail Bed Bath & Beyond. That's your only hope. But that's a gamble. Again, not every stock. I mean, remember, we're about to be out of that, where things like Hertz and Bed Bath & Beyond and some of these names rally. They don't. They're not going to rally. No one's going to buy them. Retail gets blown out. Remember, in a bear market, you're at the lows when nobody trades stocks. We're not even there yet. PLRT Planter. This is another retail hype name. Again, I try to stay away from a lot of these. It looks like a Head and Shoulders top. Right? I mean, I guess, I see the short. It's just, the problem is at such a low stock price, where are you going? I mean, the sell again was up here. Don't they have a ton of outstanding shares? How many is that a day? Yeah, 56 million. I guess that's not a ton. I mean, this thing is toast. Toast. But here's the problem. It can only go to zero. So this is the problem with shorting cheap stocks. You just kind of have to know, like, all right, I guess. Plantar. I mean, what is Plantar? I've heard they've got so many different business models they're trying to be involved in. I hate when you hear these guys are doing this and these guys are doing that. It makes you think, like, what's the CEO trying to get them to do? Be a jack of nothing? Jack of all trades of nothing? Oh, that means your other business lines aren't doing that good? So you got to, like, talk about, hey, we do Bitcoin, and hey, we do this and this and this. And again, cybersecurity obviously is always going to be needed, but are they doing something amazing? That's the question. I mean, you only know that. I mean, that's Pro Gap that started the move. Novice Gap, chop, chop, chop. And this is the thing. Maybe this is a name that comes out of the bear market, But man, when I look at it, I go, oh, scan a lot of smoke and mirrors. I mean, bonus, I think you're starting to get what I say here when I say like when retail's really pump, like when the news and the like Twitter and stock twits, like when the bots come out and start really pumping something, it's like, let's tell retail how awesome the stock is because we want to bid the stock up against ourselves. Market makers ain't doing that. Smart money is not doing that. If they want to buy endless amounts of shares of something, they are not going to be hyping this to the news. They're not going to be hyping this to the media. They're not going to be getting retail on board with it. No, fuck no. They're going to be quiet as a mouse trying to get every single share they can. Not, oh, planners are great. No. When you start seeing this headline, like, again, that's why, like, when I trading gold for so many years, anytime I start seeing people like really pump gold and the get gold commercials on TV, you start getting everything popping up, time to buy gold, I'm like, uh-oh. MGM after the hacking incident, no, dude, don't trade news headlines like that. No, you gotta be careful with that kind of crap. Now, if you want to trade MGM just because the chart looks like shit, great. Got no beef with that. But you got to remember, the headline can create market maker need to like pump. Market maker absorbing short shares might have to pump this. You just got to keep that in the back of your mind, right? Because somebody's got to absorb it. But a hacking is a temporary thing, right? Like if it gets priced in quickly, like you have to like, this is the hardest thing about Scott. Again, I don't know what planet you're on, but by the time something hits the news, you got to remember somebody already knows something's coming. And if somebody doesn't, how long is it going to really matter? Right? Like this is the thing. I hate people trying to trade headline news. Trying to trade the news. If it was an easy thing to do, people would get rich. They don't. The market makers are doing what? They're playing games with people on news. Hey, Danny, you missed, talked about the Fed stuff, talked about some charts. I mean, again, you can watch the first like 10 or 15 minutes is where it's pretty much juicy. We just kind of talking about some of the levels of things and just some of the names. But no, we're just open mic now. Again, I just hate when people are like, did you see the news on that? What should I do? When someone came to me and I'm managing money, I always wanted to do the opposite of what they said. That was my first instinct because that's what the market makers are trying to do. Now, again, some headlines are terrible and some headlines are amazing. But it depends on where you're at. Like if MGM is up here, maybe it busts, but I don't know. Like you have to remember who has to manage the stock volume after the headline, the market makers. So sometimes you see these dips and then they rally it back. I've seen this a billion times where it's like, ooh, everything's so bad. And then it's a big gap and then it's actually a novice gap and then they rally it and then they dump it. So again, is MGM going out of business? No. Casino's going to struggle? Maybe, but there's still the hype of like sports season. It's just sports season. Oh, well, I mean, maybe that distribution center in Houston becomes a Amazon warehouse. I mean, it doesn't look good. But yeah, I mean, it might get stuck in the 40 level. Yeah, football betting. I mean, that's the hardest thing here. It's like, yeah, I don't trust Chewy. I mean, this they might not go out of business, but the stock might just be an absolute turd bucket. Don't know. Any other questions? Yeah, football betting. I mean, it's football season. I mean, it's just these are so tough. Again, I'd rather just trade. Again, think about the market as a whole. If 35% of the S&P 500 is held within 10 names, and the market needs to start cashing in and raise cash, what are they going to sell? They're going to sell the leaders all day because the laggards are already lagging. People don't realize it's the literally most liquid ATM in the world is high-flying leaders. That's why the leaders, when they get crushed, When they lead up. It's an interesting topic. I mean, we go into it, but not too much. It's already about an hour or 40 minutes. I might wrap it up. Unless someone has some insights or questions. Instacart thing. I told them to have cash just in case house systems were down again. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, how many times have casinos had issues with capital? I mean, I'm old enough to remember this kind of stuff happens all the time. I'm pretty sure they have insurance. Call me if I'm crazy to think that they might have some sort of insurance if their systems go down, if they get hacked. They have some sort of gaming insurance. So, like, the headline to me, does it really mean much? Let me grab my Las Vegas dice. Landed on 6. No, I mean, they probably have insurance. Or some sort of something on it. All right. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? I appreciate everybody coming and hanging out. Just kind of get used to this. We'll do something every Sunday. Yeah, everyone's cutting. MU. Yeah, we talked about MU. We talked about it. That's old news. I mean, it's very obvious, right? I mean, if you have time, you have to look at, so here you go. 72 short, looks busted. SMH looks busted. Just, again, can we rally here? I mean, we're going to hold this maybe. I don't know. God, I got so many old lines that are drawn from before this thing pre-split. And they're just everywhere. Ugh. It's like doing house cleaning. Is it best to stay away from options with low volume like First Solar, Airbnb? Yes and no. Yes, if you don't know how to use limit orders. No, if you are familiar with how wide the spreads are going to be and not going to be like butthurt when they drop the spread at $1 and it's like, okay, that's just because there's no liquidity in the option. Like, some of the best stocks have low liquidity because think about it. Like, if something like Airbnb or First Solar, when they start getting dumped, there's no one there. And so if you're sitting there with puts and then you have to sell them, you put crazy limit orders in and people will stretch out and buy the hell out of them because the market maker won't even be there sometimes in some of those options. It's a good question. It's just hard because you'll see the spreads on those things move all over and they can be rather infuriating and disappointing to watch. Like, especially at the open and at the close and going around the FOMC. I mean, there's going to be like spreads a mile wide. So, good question. It's not easy. It's just what I tell people, if it's like PXD is another one that has like wider spreads. Put limit orders in. Try to get things at extremes. Do not chase price. Do not use market orders with low volume option spreads. Do not, because the market maker will be like, really? Okay, well, we'll fill you one here and then we'll raise it up another $1 and make you overpay. And then boom, they'll drop the bid another $1. Next thing you know, it's like you're already down 25% and the stock is down 3 pennies. And you're like, what the f*** happened? It's like highway robbery. And they're like hoping that by accident you hit a market order by mistake and fucked up and then have to sell. And they're like, thanks, we'll take your $100, $203 for whatever the spread is, a couple $100. And then they'll go to the bar and have a beer on you and they'll say thank you. All right, any other last questions, thoughts, concerns? I appreciate you guys. Some of you guys have been very generous with donations and whatnot. MU earnings on the 20th. I hear you say somebody knows something all the time. I imagine MU earnings reveal themselves under the charts. What are we looking for? How will they trap us? Okay, that's a good question. I think the trap is already happened. If I remember correctly, didn't they warn right here? And then it dropped and it rallied back and it was all over the place. What was their last earnings? July? Yeah, I mean, it was ugly. Yeah, July 29th. I mean, again, don't watch MU alone. Watch the whole... You have to, this is like a Livermore thing. Again, if you haven't read Reminiscence of a Stock Operator, for the love of God, get the audio. I know it's long. People are like, oh, it's so long. But it's such a good listen. I promise. It's such a good listen. Here, I'll just drop the link again. It's such a good listen. Yeah, like when the sector starts acting like crap, that's when you know you good. Here's the link. If you use the link, I'll get 3 cents when you buy it. How do you know where to set the limit order? You just have to kind of move it around, TY. It depends, right? You got to know, like, you and the computer are battling here for what the price is. And if the stock keeps going in your favor, you'll get a better limit order potential. If it doesn't, then they're going to really move it around. There's no way to answer that correctly. I would just keep an eye on the whole sector. Because again, I'm not surprised if NVIDIA gets absolutely destroyed at some point before their earnings. And then if it does, like, and there's a scandal and all of a sudden just chip stuff, semis, when they get busted, they bust. They bust. I mean, look at this. Zoink. Man, it went from 308 down to 153. I mean, you're talking about, that's why I'm like, man, if you got your Soxus, I mean, 34 up to 89. I mean, oh my God, you bought it in the 9-10 range. What if this thing goes up to 30? I mean, I'll take it in the 20s too. That's not bad. Yeah, AMD, they've all gotten smooshed. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. I appreciate you guys. Again, whenever in doubt, ask questions. But dude, try to figure out what the hell's going on. I'm telling you, there's tons of resources. I don't mind answering the question if you've never asked it before, but I just really get annoyed with the repeat questions. It's like, I'm sitting here with a journal. Been doing this 25 years. I have a thick journal. I have a monthly calendar journal, weekly calendar, and I write notes. I go back and review it, and I have extensive notes. If you're just literally flying by the seat of your pants, reading the news, following stock twits, following Twitter, and not really paying attention to repeating patterns, these videos, you don't understand this stuff, you're just kind of flying blind. You're kind of just trusting that your instincts are right. And as much as I love to trade off instinct, I need to be evidence-based. And then I can add in what I think my instincts based on repeating patterns in the past. But then I can still be wrong. I appreciate you guys. So have a wonderful afternoon. Watch some football, whatever you got to do. And yeah, hit me up if you got any questions. I'll be around. Peace, y'all.